absolute value. In this video, we are talking about absolute value, and the most important thing to remember about absolute value is that it just means distance from the origin. So I've got some examples here of the absolute value of different expressions. This first example is the absolute value of 2. So these two lines are called absolute value brackets or absolute value bars. And what this tells us is that we are taking the absolute value of whatever is inside them. In this case, the absolute value of 2. So all we want to do is look at our number line. We always start here from the origin and we have positive 2 here. So we have to move to the positives. We have to move to our right on our number line. So we go here. This is our positive 2. So how far is it from origin? Well, it's just 2 units away, 1 and 2. So the absolute value of 2 will be 2. We can do the same thing for the second example. Absolute value of negative 2. So we go on our number line and we start at the origin. We always start at 0. And we go to the number that is inside the absolute value. Here we are on the negative 2. So how far is negative 2 from the 0? 1 and 2 units. So the answer of absolute value of negative 2 will be 2 again. In other words, whenever you have a value inside absolute value bars, the result is always going to be positive, because the absolute value bars just tell you to take the distance from the origin, and whether you go to the right in the positive direction or to the left in the negative direction, distance from the origin is always still going to be positive. We have 3 minus 4 inside our absolute value bars. So this is the absolute value of 3 minus 4. We have to simplify that what's inside our absolute value bars. So in this case, we have to calculate the 3 minus 4. That 3 minus 4 is equal to negative 1. So we're searching for absolute value of negative 1. We can do the same just like the previous examples. So we start at the origin, at the 0. We go 1 unit to the left on the negative 1. So how far are we from the 0? There is only 1 unit. So the answer will be 1. If we have the opposite of the absolute value of a positive 4, well, we have to do what's inside the absolute value bars. First, the absolute value of 4, the distance of 4 from the origin, the distance of 4 from the 0 will be just 4. So if we simplify the last example and we write 4 instead of absolute value of 4, we will have negative 4. And this will be our answer. So what happened here? Because the negative sign was outside the absolute value bars, so we had to evaluate the absolute value of 4 first. We know that that's just 4, and then we keep the negative sign out in front. When we have an expression like this one, this is the absolute value of an expression, negative 3 minus 4. Well, when we change from just a single number to an expression, the only thing that changes is that we have to evaluate the expression first. And then only once we have finished evaluating the expression, we apply the absolute value. It's never the other order. We never start by taking the absolute value and then simplifying the inside. We always start by simplifying the inside first, and then we apply the absolute value at the end. In other words, with an expression like this one, we want to think about just what's on the inside. Here, so just the negative 3 minus 4, that equals to negative 7, which means this whole expression simplifies to negative 7. And therefore, that we can rewrite this absolute value here as the absolute value of negative 7. And we already know that this is equal to positive 7. Let's go for this example here. We have 2 plus absolute value of 5 minus 9 minus absolute value of negative 3. We can first of all simplify this just like this, 2 plus absolute value of, we simplify the inside, this expression here, 5 minus 9 will be equal to negative 4 minus the absolute value of negative 3. Now we have all the expressions inside the absolute value, which means now we can go ahead and actually apply the absolute value. Now we have all the expressions inside the absolute value, which means now we can go ahead and actually apply the absolute value to the number inside. So we can say 2 plus absolute value of negative 4 will be 4 minus absolute value of negative 3 will be just 3. So now we have 2 plus 4 minus 3. So 2 plus 4 is 6 and 6 minus 3 is 3. Which means that this original expression here, 2 plus absolute value of 5 minus 9 minus absolute value of negative 3 is equivalent to just 3. Or we can simplify that expression to just positive 3. So again, the takeaway here is whenever we're taking the absolute value of some expression instead of just a single number, we always remember that first simplify the expression as much as possible, then at the end apply the absolute value, not the other way around.